This the last couple days was very tough. I think from the time that they left, we kind of had an idea what was happening maybe 5 days prior, and it was a tough pill to swallow. I mean, still a tough pill to really swallow, um, like everything. But I think there was that time period, like I mentioned, it was tough. Um, and there was a lot of anger and frustration within me because the boy was getting to that age where he does things and it's like you can teach him and you can guide him and mold him, but at the same time they just become, and that was really, it was really getting to a part where I had to compartmentalize the Haitian within me because the anger was so real and the disciplinary action was just so real and just was right there at the tip of my fingers to just want to yell and provide that discipline, that hard, harsh, almost unnecessary discipline. I had to catch myself plenty of times from doing so, and that literally stems from the fact that the vision changes was happening more and more. And like I said, towards the end of the whole thing, the siblings was just becoming more and more out of control to where it was affecting the boy. Now, the defects, they caught wind that the boy was staying with us. So, in order to avoid getting in trouble, because like I said, you get in trouble and it's going to be game over if you're doing anything child related. And that was heavy with my wife and her parents. So, the fact that, so when they did catch wind that that was happening, in order to avoid any type of surprise visits and the boy not being there, he just ended up going back and staying over there, spending the night and whatnot. um, and that started to cause issues to where he was developing their bad behaviors, and it's simple bad behaviors. Stealing, he didn't steal too much, but there was one time when he did steal something. He started lying and he wasn't behaving how he normally behaved. He was purposefully not listening to us. He knew what was right and what was wrong, but I could tell in his face that he just didn't want to do it. And there were several times where I told him, look, and there were times where it got to a point where I told him, look, you're not going to do this in my house. You can go to your mother's house and do all that. But the second you come back here, all this nonsense better stop. And I'm not playing with you. And there was just always just anger that was boiling within me because it was like now he was back in the same building, in the same house that his siblings was. So he was taking on their bad examples. And then on top of that, they were getting more visitations over the weekend. And that was always the hardest thing when it comes to visitations, because they would go to the mother's house for just a weekend or just for a visit. And everything that we try to build up, show them compassion, show them empathy, reasoning with them and showing them love and all that good stuff. And then they spend one day with their mother and it's all out the window because it's just that much of a difference between the way that we raise children and the way that she's raised her children. It's just so much of a difference to where it's like, and it's easy for kids to act out and do all the things that we don't want them to do because it's easier to do that. We're naturally sinners. We naturally want to misbehave. We naturally want to do whatever comes to mind. But in our household, we essentially force in a way for them to stop and reevaluate their lives. And they can't do this, they can't do that. There's too many rules. But with the mother, there's no rules. So then they go to mother, then they just do whatever the heck they want for a couple of hours or when they had weekend visits. And then when they come back to us, they still have that mentality. It's easier to keep that mentality than it is, even though they're with us throughout the week, for them to go to their mom and do that because that's what they're waiting for. And eventually the boy started to pick up these same habits. Although he wasn't saying that he wanted to go to his mom because he was with his siblings and they're doing whatever they want. So he's doing whatever he wants. He's bringing that now to my house. And that was an issue. And that's where a lot of my anger, frustration was coming from, because I'm like, how do I navigate this? This is the boy that I've had since he was 4 months old, since I raised up. And it's like everything that I did, everything that I built up, everything that I try to put the building blocks for him so that he can be great is literally dismantled over a weekend. And it just became so difficult to really grasp that. And it's like, this is absurd. I wouldn't wish this on anybody, because it's like you want to do right for the kids. You want to help them. You want to mold them. But all it takes is one day, and all of that will be thrown out at that age. And one of the things, even before like we got to the last days, um, every time when I go out with my guys group and like we bring up the conversation about the kid, and if he would like go back to his mom, would I still try to maintain a relationship and stuff like that? And my answer was, and even till the day came, was no. And a lot of people can think that's selfish. And to a degree, I agree. That is selfish, but let's just be real. I can't allow my daughter to be affected. Not only that, it's one thing if it was like the mother just constantly had financial issues, and but she was a well devout Christian. Even if she wasn't Christian, she was just a regular individual that just got caught with a bad situation, and then she ended up losing her kids, her house, or whatever. That's absolutely fine. A lot of the issues that this mother had was self-inflicted. And then on top of that, the lifestyle that she lives is vastly different from ours, to the point where we had those issues where it's one thing at our house, but it's another thing at her house. And I'm just being truthful. The way that she run things at her house is the same way that a lot of people in that economic bracket and that lifestyle that sin and live in the world live. If you know where I'm going with that, that's just how they are. So to try to go back, and again, all it took was one day to dismantle everything that I've done, everything that we've built up for this kid. One day to dismantle it, and it's like having to rebuild it just for another day to come and for it to be dismantled again. My purpose to see him is for what? And please give me in the comment section if I'm too harsh or whatever the case. But my purpose to go and see him is for what? So that I can be more hurt to see the situation that he's in, and then try to be like, hey, you should probably do this, you should probably do that. Meanwhile, the person that he lives with, his mother, is like, oh, why are you doing this? That's not your family. Because she said that before. That's not your family. I'm your family, and this is your family, type thing. And cause more turmoil for him. I don't know. And then on top of that, the mother doesn't even want to have communications with us, although she tries to make it seem like it's DFACS that says so. Because when we reached out to DFACS, they're like, no, we want you to have communications with her. If she doesn't want to, then it is what it is. So at the end of the day, it's not something that I want to do, but for the sake of my household and my sanity, uh, I can't. I can't, unfortunately. There was a lot of anger that went into the last couple of days, and the thing that really caught me off, the thing that really help my mind shift, was 2 nights before. For some reason, that night, he refused to listen to me. Refused. And I didn't know why. And I tried to be calm and I tried to be patient, but he continued to do things in my house that he knows for a fact that he's not supposed to do. and he did them anyways. And after I told him, he continued to ignore me and resume what it is that he was doing. So I kicked him out. I told my wife I was going to bring him to my in-laws. Because of how upset I was, my wife ended up bringing him. I was that upset. I was that upset. And I hate that I was that upset. Then I literally sat in the room. Sat in the room on a rocking chair where when Marley was young, I would have Marley on the one hand, try to put her to sleep, and Eden on the other hand, just sitting watching the TV, and I'm watching one of his favorite shows with them, which is now one of the shows that Marley loves. Um, and I sat there and I'm like, okay, God, how do I proceed with this? How do I get rid of this anger? And then I got that faint whisper that I normally get when God's talking to me. The same whisper that I had the day that he came, the day that the boy was laying on that bed and I was changing his diaper and I realized that he was a boy and not a girl. And I was given that whisper. That day, my wife was like, just take care of him. You don't have to take care of the other ones. Just take care of him. When I looked at the boy, I said, am I really going to sit here and take care of you? And then that faint whisper from God said, yes, you are. And every time I hear that whisper, I just obey. Every time I obey. And I did. So then when it came to that day when I blew up on him and I was sitting in that chair wondering how am I supposed to proceed with this? And he told me, your job is done. And I thought, and I'm like, so this is it, huh? This is it. And that's when I came to a level of understanding of when God tells you to do something, when he gives you that whisper and it's kind of that command. And when you just obey, you just see it through. And at the end of the day, it's not how it makes you feel, just that you do the job. And the job was done. Just like with everything else, every other time when there was a whisper of me doing any type of task, any type of project, or helping out in any type of way, I would always get the same whisper of, okay, your job is done. And I got that same whisper. I said, the job is done. And I'm like, is this really it? I'm like, but something can happen. We could possibly adopt. But no, the job was done. I did what I was demanded by God to do. And that was it. No instruction on how to proceed. So I just continue to live how I know and continue to seek guidance and wait for more whispers. And it was at that point that I came to the acceptance that regardless of how much I brought him up, because he's in that such a malleable state, if the environment around him calls for him to do what he wants, then he's going to do what he wants. That's just that age, unfortunately. That's just that age. And now I've come to realize that, as tough as it is being a parent, being a daddy, it's a tough mindset to be in, to think that everything that you try to build up, the guidance that you're trying to give him, it's just gone. It's a tough thing to try to swallow. But at the end of the day, that I don't think that was for me to do. And maybe, hopefully, everything, or not everything, at least some things that I try to instill in him, he'll remember as he gets older. But hey, it is what it is. The deed was done, and that's all I could really go off of. It's tough not hearing his voice call me daddy. It's tough not not hearing the noises he makes every time when he eats good food. He'll always eat, and if it's good, you go. I don't understand why. Saying, yo, I don't understand why he did that, but he did it anytime the food is good. He's doing it. I don't know why, but oh man, Lord. I'm gonna miss that kid. Or I do miss that kid. I'm always gonna miss him. But thankfully I find peace with God, knowing that, I did what it was that God wanted me to do. Um, and at the end of the day, we live on this world so that we can live in worship of God, and that's through obedience. And I was obedient. If there was a situation where, I didn't get that whisper that this was over, then I would have kept on doing what I'm doing. Then I would have kept on fighting and kept on going with whatever it is that got through at me. But I got that word. So what am I gonna do? Fight God and be like, nah, we're gonna keep going. Nah, bro. It is what it is. It is what it is. God's grace is sufficient enough for me to go about my days. And I stand on that 10 toes. But I will say the emotions that come through, especially now, it's tough. I empathize. I now feel, not fully to the extent, but now I feel the mourning when it comes to losing the kid that you raised, that you brought up. Those little happy moments, those moments that make you be glad that you're a parent. I feel it. And it makes me care for Bella and Marley even more, to just be able to hold them more. Not that I didn't hold them enough, because I always held them. And especially the boy, I had him all the time. If he was around, he wasn't far from me. And I was okay with that. Um, but a lot of times when I am with them, I always remember of him. And again, it hurts because it's not like he's passed. He's alive, but you know, So those that have lost kids, I can't imagine. I go through every day thinking of thinking of the sole idea of me losing these two that I have now for whatever reason, not being to hear them talk to me, come to me, giving me hugs, giving me kisses. That is pain. That is tough. And for those that have lost kids, I will say God has peace. God will provide peace. It's not going to be easy, but it's something where you can cast off all your burdens onto. So my final thoughts for this whole thing: fostering is not for everyone. It is not for everyone. We just so happen to be a family that's very loving and that loves taking care of kids. Well, my in-laws, not me, my in-laws. And so they've been doing this for quite some time. I think some 15 years or something like that. I can't remember exactly the number, but it's not for everybody. I know some people, especially at my church, at my old church, that did fostering and now are no longer doing fostering. The other thing that's really mentioned is that with Haitians, they're kind of hard anyway, so they could just handle certain situations because they're just meant to survive. And so if there's somebody that's just being difficult, you manage to deal with them. The thing is that you're not supposed to look at this as just a situation where you could just deal with it. You have to be attentive. You have to be attentive with the child and actually be that guidance and that influence for said child. Because if you just look at it as, oh, they're just here and then I'm just going to pick up a check, I just need to make sure they get the bare minimum. Yeah, you could do that. But what type of person are you if you're doing that? And if you're a Christian, what type of Christian are you if that's all you do? You're not pouring into these kids. You're not giving them guidance. All you do is just make sure they have somewhere to eat, make sure they have somewhere to sleep. You don't care what they do with their time. You don't care if they just sit down and do nothing the whole day. As long as they're not bugging you, then you're okay with it. You shouldn't be that type of person. Or you shouldn't be doing fostering if you're that type of person. If you care too much about yourself and everything that you got going, you shouldn't be a foster parent. If you don't have thick skin, you shouldn't be a foster parent. This isn't for the weak hearted. This isn't for the selfish. This isn't for anybody who isn't willing to give up some of them to do this. This requires a lot. And there's a lot of kids that need this. If you can handle it, do it. Great. And if you think you have the grit, go ahead and do it. Try it out. But if you know for a fact, don't do it. As a matter of fact, I take that back. If you think, ask a couple people before you decide to do it, and see if you really are people that you trust and that know you and that will tell you how you are. I mean, you could even do it for a little bit just to get the experience, but always remember that these are children. These are the future. Regardless of if they're with you for a long time, like these kids, or they're with you for the short time, you can be of good influence to them. They may remember, they may not. But at the end of the day, because they're the next generation, we need to do what we can for them so that they can be better when they get older because they're already at a disadvantage. That's what we need to care for. And again, fostering is not going to be the situation that I had. It's not always going to be like that. But that doesn't mean that it can't happen. So if you're going to do fostering, always keep this in mind, but don't let it be something that's on the forefront of your mind. But when the situation comes, you just remember, this is just like Big Blue in his one video where he talked about his situation and be able to navigate from there. Always love these kids as much as you can. This is all I have for y'all. And if you guys haven't seen the previous video, it should be right over here. Go ahead and click on that and I'll catch you there. Y'all stay blessed.